If you're looking for a new grimdark epic, look no further than The Price of Power by Michael Michel. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the Price of Power book review. This book is debuting on February the 6th, so if you're in Australia, it's ready to go now. If you're in the US, it is going to be ready for you tomorrow, but listen up, because you'll want to jump on board for The Price of Power. In my opinion, The Price of Power is a powerhouse of grimdark, full of questionable morals, histories rich in dangerous magic, and characters you don't know if you really should be rooting for. But before we jump into more of that review, make sure you're checking in the description box down below for links to my social media and Discord if you want to come along for the ride. Let's jump into the plot. Political tensions rise throughout a land on the precipice of war. To save the world, each must pay a price. Failure is not an option. To fail is to bring total annihilation. The mad Prince Baradane Ironlight is the descendant of a well-loved king. For 14 years, he has lived his life in secret as the drug-dealing addict by the name of Cord in a place called Digtown. Digtown is a very dirty, gungy town which houses the lowest of the low. But Digtown serves his purpose as well. He has a roof, he has one person he can trust, and a constant supply of the drug Godsthorn, which he runs his operation through. For 14 years, people have thought Baradane is dead, and he would like to keep it that way. But hunting the high night after night comes to a bloody end when Cord finds himself pushed out of his dealings and death follows his footsteps. His past will call, but will he answer to become the great Baradane Ironlight once more? And then we have Prince Ishua, who stands in line for the throne as the Ice Queen's only living heir. At 14, she must learn the ways of the court, even the harsh ones. She must undergo what is known as the trials to take her place among the court if she wishes to make any sort of change. People must go through these trials to be able to take a place at court and have an opinion on things. So at quite a young age, she is now set up to go through these tasks or these trials, which are overly dangerous to be able to further the political game here. Her innocence will be tested to unleash the anger within. She has one choice: betray her country or sacrifice her first love. Then we have Lacastri, which I probably butchered the pronunciation of. Lacastri is a god, one who can manipulate time, a commodity she is running out of at rapid speed. She knows what she has to do in order to save the world, and the other gods inside of her head are a constant reminder. Get close to the boy, train the boy, get the boy ready. If only that boy wasn't her grandson. And finally, we have Thephos. Too weak to take his own life, Thesos ventures to Antares, a place where the hopeful go to ascend, but for him, it's a means to an end. He is there to die, but surrounded by 9 others hopeful to climb Antares and gain ascension to become an awakened. For those that reach the Hall of Heroes become an awakened, a god-like entity with powers unimaginable to the human world. There is something else not many people know about this ascent, is that where there's good, there is evil, and the chance of falling into madness and becoming a ruptured is also on the cards. Demons wait Thephos at every turn. He has chosen the wrong time to decide that he now wants to live. I have to say, The Price of Power was a ballsy debut, and I absolutely loved it. It was highly entertaining, grimdark, that is not afraid to take risks. And in a debut, that's a big move to make, to showcase not only a 700-page book, but also one that isn't afraid to take risks, and get the audience really captivated with what's happening in the book. The first thing that I do want to mention is the sheer scope of Price of Power. Each POV shows a different walk of life within this world, with a small link to the others if you are looking for it. We do get to see the nitty-gritty of what this world has to offer, from the court intrigue and to the trenches of war. This 700-page chonker feels as big as you would expect it to. I was also really impressed with the pacing, actually fairly blown away with the pacing of quite a large book that the author has been able to convey. Sometimes when you get a big book like this, the middle can really drag as you try to put those pieces together, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It is part of that world building, but sometimes it can feel a little bit long. What Michel has done is he's utilized a different tense through one of the POVs. So one of the POVs is done in first person, where the rest are done in third person, and this gives a really refreshing take, and it might feel a little bit jolting to begin with, but eventually it does feel like a fresh story that's being told, and all the POVs feel so individual to that character themselves that it does feel like we're going through each story at a fairly fast pace, regardless of the page length. I will say that he's also done a really good job of, every time I'd started to think about a different POV, different from the one that I was reading at the time, thinking, oh, I wonder what this person is doing now, or if we're going to hear from this person sometime soon, it tended to be the next chapter. So I didn't have to wait very long for those thoughts to be answered, or the questions that I had to be answered in the next chapter, which I thought was really neat for an author to sort of anticipate where a reader was going to start thinking about a different character and then put them in to make sure that that flow was happening. For a bigger book, I will say this was very easy to read. I didn't want to put it down. You were consuming, 5-10 chapters in one sitting and remembering that you had chores to do. It was just a good time. I also have to mention the characters here, because there were many and they were all fairly awesome. There is not one character in this story that I didn't enjoy. Even the ones that you're probably not meant to root for, I did like them in some way, shape, or form, which is rare for a big book with this multi-POV. Each character had their own lives, and they were well situated within those lives, and they were all sort of vastly different to the others that were in the book. Within their lives, they had their own friends, they had their own enemies, and problems going on that felt real and authentic to those characters. Each character also had a clear set of motivations which shifted along as the story went for the reader, which I think also made me more invested in the characters, which is something that's, not an easy feat for me personally as someone who's not necessarily a character-driven reader. I felt, because of these clear motivations and the way the story was laid out, I feel like I was progressing with them through the lessons that they were learning, which was a really cool experience for me. The last thing I'll say, and the last praise I will give this book, otherwise we'll be here forever, is the magic system. I would say this is a soft magic with hard set rules to be able to understand it completely. To become a magic user, you had to become an awakened, which meant that you needed to ascend Antares and make it out alive. That's the part that always gets people. A lot of people ascend, not a lot of people come down. This has proved impossible for many people before, so there's a lot of stakes here and a lot of bravado for people going into this trial thinking that they would be the one to get to the top and become an awakened. There's definitely a certain level of prestige into going through these trials. But the powers that were granted to you should you make it to the Hall of Heroes at the top is not guaranteed. You could be blessed with a number of abilities, or you could be cursed and driven to madness. What I liked about this magic system is it was introduced through different characters in different stories throughout the book itself. So we do actually undergo this ascension with Thephos, one of our characters. We get to experience the ascension itself and how dangerous it can be, but we also got to see the other side of that with characters who had become awakened and were able to show us their powers and the different powers that they obtained through this ascension. There was so much to uncover about being an awakened throughout these pages, and like gods behaving badly, I'm an absolute sucker for it. I had a wonderful time with The Price of Power. I would highly recommend it for people who like George R. Martin, people who like Joe Abercrombie. Now, I'm not the biggest Joe Abercrombie fan myself, but I do think that Abercrombie is very good at wit and very good at character work, and I think if you like those things with a dark storyline which isn't afraid to roll with the punches like George R. R. Martin, then you're going to have a really good time here. This multi-POV does not shy away from the harsher elements of life. It takes risks, and it will have you on the edge of your seat, perhaps cursing some of the actions that the author has taken throughout the tale, which, is not a bad thing if you're that invested in a story, even if you're like, curse you. I had an awesome time with Price of Power. I hope people pick it up. Happy debut to you, Michael Michel. Thank you so much for letting me be on the ARC team and the beta team for this. A small note that I'll put here at the end is I was on the beta read for Price of Power, I think towards the end of 2021 or maybe the beginning of 2022, and it was around 1,400 pages at that point. And there were a lot of notes that came from that, which I will say that the author has taken on board, and this book is so tight. I'm very impressed with the amount of work that has gone into making this book as good as it is, which may make me a little bit biased on how much I enjoyed it. It's just because I've seen that process happen, but honestly, you've got a good time here. Are you thinking of picking up The Price of Power? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give it one of these. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.